I stared at the empty spot in the driveway where my 2019 Honda Civic had been parked just hours before. The car I'd spent 2 years saving for while working through college. The car I needed for my new job starting Monday. It was the practical choice, Mom explained, not meeting my eyes. Your brother's wedding venue needed a bigger deposit and well, you can always buy another car. You sold my car without asking me? My voice cracked. I'm on the title. That's illegal. Dad waved his hand dismissively. Family does what's necessary, Sarah. Marcus is marrying into the Reynolds family. Do you know what those connections could do for the business? Ah yes, the family business Carter Construction, where Marcus was being groomed to take over despite barely passing his business classes. Meanwhile, my engineering degree and business minor weren't quite what the company needs. I start my new job on Monday, I said quietly. How am I supposed to get there? Take the bus, Marcus suggested, walking past with his designer suit for the wedding. Or better yet, quit that startup and come work for Dad. We could use someone to handle the paperwork. I looked at my parents, waiting for them to defend me. Instead, Mom busied herself with wedding catalogs while Dad checked his phone. The title, I demanded. Where is it? Already done, Dad replied. Power of attorney makes things simple. Don't worry, we put the money toward Marcus's wedding. Family first, right? Family first. The motto they used whenever they needed something from me but never when I needed them. That night I packed my bags. My small savings wouldn't get me another car, but it would get me a bus ticket to Silicon Valley where my job at Tech Build Solutions waited. They'd seen potential in my innovative construction software designs, potential my family had ignored. You're being dramatic, Mom called as I wheeled my suitcase to the door. It's just a car. No, I replied, it's just the last time I let this family take advantage of me. 3 years later. I straightened my blazer as I looked out over San Francisco from my corner office. At 28, I was the youngest vice president of operations at Tech Build Solutions, and my construction management software was revolutionizing the industry. Miss Carter. My assistant Lisa poked her head in. You have visitors in the lobby. I don't have any appointments this morning. It's your family. Your father, brother, and someone from Reynolds Construction. My heart skipped. Reynolds Construction, the company Marcus had married into, the connections that were supposed to secure Carter Construction's future. They say it's urgent, Lisa added. Something about a contract bid? I pulled up our pending contracts on my tablet. There it was. Carter Reynolds joint venture, desperately seeking the software licensing that could save their failing business. How long have they been waiting? I asked. 20 minutes. I smiled, remembering all the times they'd made me wait. All the times they'd dismissed my ideas. Let them wait another 20, I replied, turning back to my work. Oh, and Lisa, tell security to make sure they don't touch the Model 3 in my reserved parking spot. I'd hate for anything to happen to my car. The sight of my father and brother squirming in the lobby's modern chairs almost made the last 3 years worth it. Almost. Sarah. Marcus stood quickly, his expensive suit showing signs of wear. Not the Reynolds money keeping him stylish anymore. You look successful. 40 minutes, Dad growled, checking his Rolex, probably the last vestige of his former success. You made us wait 40 minutes. I glanced at Lisa, who was hiding a smile behind her tablet. I was in a meeting. You know how it is, business first, family second. Right, Dad? The jab hit home. He flinched slightly before recovering. We need to discuss a business opportunity. Privately. Of course. I gestured to the glass-walled conference room. Though I should mention, everything's recorded for security purposes. Corporate policy. James Reynolds, Marcus's brother-in-law, followed us in. He looked as uncomfortable as someone could in a $3,000 suit. The merger between Carter Construction and Reynolds Construction had been his father's idea, a last-ditch effort to save both struggling companies. Nice software you've got here, Marcus tried for casual conversation as we sat down. Very innovative. Funny, I replied, pulling up their contract application on the room's display screen. That's not what you called it 3 years ago. What was the term? Glorified spreadsheets. Dad leaned forward. Sarah, honey, the past is the past. We're here to talk business. Let's. I pulled up their company financials, the ones they didn't know I had access to. Like how Carter Reynolds Construction has lost 40% of its market share in the last year. Or how you failed to secure any major contracts in the past 6 months. Marcus's fake smile faltered. How did you dash? My glorified spreadsheets track industry metrics. I swiped to another screen, including which companies are hemorrhaging money on outdated management systems. Now see here, Dad started, but James Reynolds cut him off. Ms. Carter, he said formally, we're prepared to offer significant compensation for licensing your software. Name your price. I leaned back, savoring the moment. By price? Well, let's see. The software license would be $2 million. Done, Dad said quickly, too quickly. Per year. Marcus choked on his water. That's insane. The whole company isn't worth dash. He stopped, realizing what he'd admitted. Plus, I continued as if he hadn't spoken, I want controlling interest in Carter Reynolds Construction. The room exploded. Dad turned purple, Marcus started sputtering about family loyalty, and James Reynolds looked like he might pass out. You can't be serious, Dad finally managed. Actually, I turned the screen to show another document. I am. Your company's bylaws state that in the event of financial insolvency, outside investors can purchase controlling interest with board approval. I smiled. And guess who sits on the board of your largest creditor? 3 years of night classes, strategic networking, and careful planning had led to this moment. While they'd been coasting on old connections, I'd been building new ones. You planned this, Marcus accused, finally seeing his sister clearly for the first time. No, brother dear. You did this. All of you. I just worked hard enough to be here when it all fell apart. You can't do this to your own family, Mom's voice came from the doorway. She must have arrived late, still carrying the self-righteous attitude that had driven me away 3 years ago. Family. I pulled up one final document on the screen. Like when you sold my car illegally. Here's the police report I filed back then. Never submitted it but kept it just in case. Dad's face went from purple to ashen. Vehicle fraud wasn't something his country club friends would easily forgive. What do you want? James Reynolds asked quietly. At least he was smart enough to recognize a checkmate when he saw one. Beyond the licensing fees and controlling interest? I stood, walking to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. I want Marcus off the executive board. But I'm CO. Marcus protested. Not anymore. I turned back to face them. Your new position will be project coordinator. You'll report to the head of operations. And who's that going to be? Dad demanded, though his voice suggested he already knew. Meet your new chief operations officer. I gestured to Lisa, who walked in with a stack of contracts. Remember when you said she was just my assistant? She has an MBA from Stanford and 5 years of construction management experience. Lisa smiled sweetly at my family as she distributed the papers. I've taken the liberty of highlighting the relevant sections. You'll notice the terms are non-negotiable. Mom stepped forward, trying a different approach. Sweetheart, we can work this out as a family. Over dinner perhaps? I could make your favorite dash. Stop. I held up my hand. This isn't about revenge. It's about business. Your company is failing because you value connections over competence. That ends today. And if we refuse? Dad made one last attempt at asserting control. I shrugged. Then I'll watch Carter Reynolds Construction collapse while I license my software to your competitors. Either way, I win. The next hour was filled with the sound of papers shuffling and pens scratching as they signed everything. With each signature, I could see their old world crumbling, a world where family names meant more than merit, where loyalty was a one-way street. As they prepared to leave, Marcus paused. The car, he said suddenly. How much was it worth? $23,000, I replied. Why? He pulled out his checkbook, a rare moment of conscience 3 years too late. Keep it, I said. Consider it the first installment of your tuition. Tuition? For the lessons you're about to learn about real business. Starting Monday, you'll be shadowing Lisa. She'll teach you what business school couldn't, how to earn respect instead of expecting it. After they left, Lisa brought in a bottle of champagne. Congratulations, boss. Though I have to ask, why keep them involved at all? Why not just let the company fail? I picked up a framed photo from my desk, my old Honda Civic. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying what someone loves. It's making them watch while you transform it into something better. Speaking of transformations, Lisa grinned. Wait until they see the new company name. I smiled, looking at the mock-up of the new logo. Phoenix Construction Technologies rising above the old ways. Send out the press release, I told Lisa. And schedule a company-wide meeting for Monday. It's time everyone learned that success isn't inherited, it's earned. That evening as I drove my Tesla home, I passed the bus stop where I'd started my journey 3 years ago. The old Sarah would have given anything for her family's approval. The new Sarah had something better, their respect. Even if they had to be dragged kicking and screaming to give it. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. I'm sorry. For everything. I didn't respond. He'd have plenty of time to prove that apology meant something. After all, he had a lot to learn from his little sister, the one who turned a stolen car into an empire. 1 year later. I watched through my office window as Marcus gave a presentation to our project managers. He'd lost the designer suits and fake swagger, replaced by competence earned through actual work. He's improved, Lisa noted, handing me our latest quarterly report. Though he still flinches every time I make him take the bus to site inspections. Good, I smiled. Some lessons need reinforcing. Dad had retired forcibly 6 months ago, though he still showed up at board meetings as a consultant. He'd finally stopped introducing me as his tech-savvy daughter, and started using my proper title, CEO of Phoenix Construction Technologies, now the fastest-growing construction management firm on the West Coast. Mom had taken longer to adjust. She still sent weekly dinner invitations, each one accompanied by subtle digs about how I didn't need to work so hard anymore. I declined them all except for monthly family meetings held in my conference room during business hours. The Reynolds family had actually adapted the best, recognizing that their old money approach to business was obsolete. James now headed our East Coast expansion, proving that some people could evolve when forced to. Miss Carter. My new assistant knocked. The dean of your old engineering school is here. They want to discuss naming the new technology building after you. I looked at the wall where I'd hung my first car's license plate, a reminder of where I'd started and why I'd fought so hard. Tell them I'll match any naming rights donation, I replied, but the building should be called the Merit Scholars Center, instead. It's time we celebrated achievement over ancestry. After all, the best legacy isn't the name you're given, it's the name you make for yourself.